In this video, we're going to modify and complete the Google sign-in that we started in lesson 8 and we didn't get to finish. So what I've done, we're actually going to follow along with this tutorial from Firebase, authenticating using Google sign-in on Android. We may make a few small changes to it, but basically we're going to follow along what's here. So I've actually removed the standard login button that we created. And we're going to use a branded Google sign-in button. So the first thing we want to make sure is that we have a reference to Google Play Services auth. We know we already have the Firebase auth, so I'm going to copy this line and go to my app level build.gradle file and make sure we've got this reference. We may have it here already, but I'm just going to make sure. And I actually have this line here already, so if you don't have it in your build.gradle, you'll want to paste it in. And that will be the Play Services auth 1601. Next thing I'm going to do is go back to my login activity. Again, I've gotten rid of the login with Google button. We just have our login and register buttons. We've already set up authentication. So we actually want to put a different kind of button on our form to replace it. So here's the button that we're going to use. Instead of using a regular button, we're going to use a Google. Notice we've got a Google sign-in button. So we're going to use this instead. Give it an ID of sign button. Set our width and height. Set our left and right. Parent. Our top will be to the bottom of our register button. ID is register button 2, so I'll use that same ID here. I'm not going to set up a click event handler here. This control doesn't seem to respond well to that. We're actually going to write the click handler in our onCreate method as an override. If we launch our app, we'll see a Google sign-in button, and it'll have this. Will include the Google logo right on the button. We can further customize it. Now we're going to get this Google sign-in button instead. I've removed that old login with Google button. Now we get this instead. Okay, so now we're going to go into our login activity. I've removed the code that we added that was partly working from last time. So including the variables. So add Google sign-in client object. Google sign-in client. And then we'll declare our sign-in button. So those 3 declarations. And then we're going to add some things in on create. We're going to reset. I've removed the Google configuration from last week. We've got to change a couple. We're going to add something to it. We're going to set our Google sign-in options. Now, I already have all the references I need in here. If you get any namespaces in red, make sure you just import the class. We're going to set this equal to a new Google sign-in options. Builder. And we'll set our Google sign-in options by default in. We didn't have this last time. We need to request an ID token. It uses our default web client ID. That's from our Google services.json. Automatically added to our project when we configured Firebase. And we're going to request the user's email address. Build. All of this code is actually here in Firebase link. So we can just copy it from here. It's our Java code. So then we're going to instantiate a couple of things. After we configure those options, I'm going to call get client with our sign-in options. We'll instantiate our sign-in button. Find view by ID. And then we're going to set up our on-click listener here. This is our listener to view. With our override, we'll override the on-click event. What we'll do here is we'll create an intent. An intent. We'll use a client, and we'll call get sign in intent. We're going to call a method activity for result. Sign in intent. There's our click handler so far. And now if we go back to the Google Docs, so there was our method. We just wrote it as a click handler, non-create. Then we have these two other methods. We've got an on activity result. This is basically similar to what we had last time, except we're going to call Google sign in get signed in account from intent data. We didn't have this last time. And then we'll need this Firebase auth with Google. If the user is successful, we want to sign them in. So I'm actually just going to grab these. I'm going to copy this activity result code. And we'll just take out this log and instead we'll make this a toast message. Tag. So we're getting a result back. We're attempting to authenticate through Google, and we'll get a task back. If it works, we then want to authenticate, add this user to our Firebase database. There's another method here we're going to copy from the documentation. This is our Firebase auth with Google. We'll just copy that. And we'll get rid of a few things and we'll make a couple changes. We can get rid of line 1 with this log. Don't need it. Get rid of our white space. We can get rid of our update UI methods. Those. And we'll get rid of our logging here. This can be our post text. Again, we'll just this. Long. We'll change the message to say Google authentication failed. And also in their documentation, they've used mauth to represent the Firebase authentication database. We're using DB. And up here, we'll use DB. We'll change this to our login activity. This. Next error go away. And lastly, if the user is successful, that method is called update UI. We are going to start our main activity. New intent. So we've copied these two methods outside of our onCreate. We've set up Google inside our onCreate, pretty much similar to how we did it before, but we did not have in class the request ID token, and we had a separate method being called. I'm going to add it just into the onCreate as an override. So let's try this out. I'm already signed into Google on my emulator, so it should just authenticate me right through if this worked properly. So I'm going to rebuild. So I will try my sign in. And I'm already signed in. We can tell if I go to my profile. There we go. There's my Google ID.